My guest today is Dr. Rebecca Randerson, who for the last 11 years has been a GP at Johnsonville. And Rebecca, this last weekend I understand you were in Christchurch. What were you doing down there?
Right, well, I was talking at giving a workshop at a conference for a GP conference with a colleague of mine who is a GP in Christchurch.
And you and your colleague were doing a workshop. What was the topic of the workshop?
Our workshop was called Greening Your Practice, and basically it was an introduction to environmental sustainability, plus we developed a toolkit for general practice businesses to run their practices in a more energy efficient manner.
And this is what you've got here with you, which we'll be referring to.
Yeah, this is the toolkit here. We're going to make it into a booklet, but it ran into a longer document than we'd thought, and it's very accessible to use.
Yeah. So what were some of the key points in greening your practice?
Well, like any business, there's a lot of energy efficiency changes that can be made, and GPs often consider themselves too busy to get onto peripheral issues like this. So what we thought is we'd make it as easy for them as possible, and the toolkit contains some facts and suggestions about how to use your lighting and computers more efficiently. For instance, at my practice I found that 19 out of 27 computers had been left on one weekend. And these are simple measures that any business can take to reduce their energy usage. And it often just takes one person to make some steps to set up some systems to deal with this, and the whole system runs perfectly.
And what else, specific to a medical practice, were you suggesting?
Right, yes, well, apart from recycling and how we deal with our medical wastage, which can be a highly energy intensive process when it's sterilised. The key features I think that came out of our toolkit were talking about pharmaceutical wastage, which is actually a huge problem in New Zealand and internationally. And we had some tips for how to deal with that. And the other main area was home insulation for patients, which is I think we have a good role to play there as GPs in helping patients achieve healthier homes.
Because I understand that particularly households on lower incomes, that houses are often very cold at night, and that this can have bad health impacts.
Yes, definitely. There's been a lot of studies that show this, and New Zealand has a particular problem with our housing stock being poorly insulated, and this has a lot of health problems for lung conditions like asthma and pneumonia. So the toolkit contains information about how to link up with the government's home insulation subsidy program.
Yes.
And the key point there is that there's different subsidies available depending on your income, but the toolkit also contains a list of initiatives that will bump up the subsidisation even higher for those on very low incomes. And with the changes in the climate and the environment that are predicted over the next 50 years, we know that the people on lower incomes are going to be disproportionately affected by these changes. So we really need to target these low income families and people.
How did people respond to the workshop?
Well, there was a few questions about why are you into this, which was interesting, because for me it seems clear why. Our environment is part of one of the main features that affects human health, and if you take a wider view of health, then you can see that that's an important area to be addressed. Yeah, there's a professional responsibility to our patients to be concerned with this area.
Yes.
And of course there's moral responsibility as well, I believe.
In what sense?
Right. Well, in terms of, I believe that humanity has a role to play in terms of stewardship for the environment and caring for the planet that we all live in. And that goes for me beyond human health. I'm concerned about the entire ecosystem and the health of other species on this planet, which I believe we have a responsibility as the dominant species on this planet to look after.
Is this what people call intergenerational responsibility?
Well, true. That's very important. That maybe interspecies, and intergenerational equity is important here, so that we are aware of, the outcome of how we live today is going to affect the way that generations that come after us will live in the future, and we need to be mindful of what we're doing today and the effects it will have in the future.
So as a result of the workshop, do you feel that there'll be changes in medical practices throughout the country?
Well, I certainly hope so. Basically, the thing with the busy GP is that the best thing for them to do is to have a look at this, have an overview of it, and then give it to their practice manager, who is the person who makes all the day-to-day decisions in their practice about how the practice runs. And that's really the way to go. Someone who with administrative expertise who can just put it all into action. Well, we can send you a disc, or we can send you send you the file document through email, and it's at greeningyourpractice@gmail.com. So
greeningyourpractice@gmail.com.
Yeah.
Rebecca, thank you very much. I think you've addressed a very significant issue, and my hope is that this will be something now which becomes much more in the centre of consciousness.